No matter how much the show media wants you to believe Ubisoft is doing good, they are not. So many of their recent games have been completed utter failures. Their shareholders are not happy with them. And this new co studio with Tencent Vantage Studios might not turn out to be all that positive in the end. But now Ubisoft has warned of falling company revenues and says that it's seen that many new games are struggling to stand out when that is a complete and utter lie. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, Ubisoft is filled with liars. They just cannot admit the fact that they are not making high quality content anymore, that they are not making content that resonates with their customer base, because of course they don't want to admit fault. They don't want to admit that they are the ones that are out of touch with the audience. So they have to always blame it on something else, some other external factor. And now the Assassin's Creed publisher Ubisoft is saying that many new games are struggling as players turn away from traditional releases in favor of subscriptions, live service, and free-to-play games. And sure, I think that this is happening on a small scale, but I don't think that it means that they can't make these traditional full-priced releases anymore, because there are so many games that still do that are massively successful. It's just Ubisoft's games that are struggling right now. And Ubisoft, of course, is saying that people are playing fewer games, which makes new games struggle to stand out, which is wild. So, in a recent filing with Companies House, Ubisoft's United Kingdom-based arm wrote a lengthy breakdown about the future developments of the firm. This somewhat morbid telling of the tale of gaming suggested that a paradigm shift is occurring, one that's skewing the future of new single games in the wake of subscriptions and live service titles. And Ubisoft, of course, is seeing this happening too, because they literally said you need to get used to not owning your games. Live service is the future. Maybe if they had denied this the whole time and they had rejected this notion the whole time, their traditional releases would be doing a little bit better. Wasting no time, Ubisoft's representatives directly said that consumers are playing fewer games, and the ones that they do play, they're playing for longer, which means that new single releases are struggling to compete and achieve sales they may once have had, which is such a blatant lie. Consumers are actually not playing fewer games overall. Now, yes, there are subsections, if you start really breaking down ages, that are playing less, because there is actually from the, I believe it's 18 to 25 range, a slight decline, because those people are trying to get into job markets. They're more focused, and of course, they have to basically grind harder in life because of the rising costs of just living. Whereas if you look at the breakdown of ages from like the age range, I think it is like 36 to 46, they're playing more games than they did the past 10 years because they are more comfortable. Regardless, though, this is just not generally true that consumers are playing fewer games and that suddenly these companies need to completely shift their product mentality, because we're talking about people just giving up on garbage. Yes, there are some games that come out now that are significantly longer. If you compare, let's say, the Resident Evil remakes, which are like 10 to 12 hours, to something like Elden Ring, I mean, yeah, you're going to see a major difference in the amount of time that somebody would play that, but there are plenty of games out there that are shorter experiences, that are full priced, that people still buy and play and enjoy. And yes, I do think that if you are looking down the barrel of a $70 game that is either 20 hours versus 50 hours, people are going to lean towards the 50 hours because they can get more bang for their buck. But Ubisoft is a company that is struggling with traditional releases because they are putting out traditional releases that people are not resonating with. Skull and Bones was a quadruple A failure. You can find that game for about $10 online timeline now, which is crazy because they had several years worth of content planned and it doesn't look like that's ever going to come out. But that was a game that simply was missing features, didn't run the way people expected. It just wasn't the highest quality experience people wanted. You look at something like Star Wars Outlaws. Star Wars was already facing problems before that, but it's just a lower quality game overall that people didn't connect with. You are talking about something like Assassin's Creed Shadows. People had begged for an AC game set in Japan, but you decided to put virtue signaling and diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives before entertainment value. And I actually don't think that Yasuke was the worst character I've ever played in a video game. I don't think that he was the only major problem with this title, but when you put a playable historical figure in a game, that no matter who you're choosing is going to be controversial on some level, because we know that games generally aren't historically accurate to a T. And they also claimed that it was. So yeah, we're just talking about Ubisoft having an issue here. It says the traditional full game model of selling a single high-priced game to a consumer as a one-time purchase continues to become less ubiquitous, with multi-game subscription services, long-running games as a service titles, free-to-play games, and cloud streaming offerings all providing new and attractive ways for consumers to access gaming content. And yes, a lot of people have a lot less money to spend on games, but that doesn't mean that they are only playing free-to-play games. That doesn't mean that they are completely rejecting full-price AAA games. Consumers are playing fewer games, playing them for longer, and as a result, outside of a few notable exceptions, many new games are struggling to stand out and achieve the sales they may once have had. While the market is more volatile and the potential for any specific title is less predictable as a result, and this is a straight up lie to saying, quote, many new games are struggling to stand out and achieve the sales they may have once had. What about just this year? And last year and the year before, let's say since 2020, the amount of games that have been wildly successful. Arc Raiders is a $40 game that really didn't have a lot of marketing that recently came out. It's already sold over 5 million copies. That's crazy. That is a game that sure isn't full price, but has been a massive success. What about Expedition 33? Ubisoft should know a little bit about this game, seeing as it's their ex-developers. That game came out and sold millions and millions and millions of copies. It has the most nominations in the history of the Game Awards. That is wild. Maybe Ubisoft should have actually focused on keeping these people and greenlighting the projects they want, because Ubisoft could have had an Expedition 33 on their lineup for 2025. They could have actually allowed this game to come out, and then they would be rolling in money. We are talking about games like Elden Ring selling millions and millions of copies, Night Rain selling millions and millions of copies. We're talking about Ninja Gaiden's coming out and making bank. Oblivion Remastered making a lot of money. You've got Mafia: The Old Country exceeding expectations. We're just talking about so many games that have done good that they are ignoring the existence of, because they, of course, need to place the blame somewhere else. You are seeing a shift in the industry where consumers are finally giving up on slop. People are sick and tired of companies doing the least amount of work possible and charging the most amount of money possible. And it's just so insulting that they continue to sit here and basically say our consumers are not doing enough. Your consumers would be giving you more money if you were giving them higher quality products, and they're getting wrecked for this stance, and rightfully so. They deserve it. It's a mystery, maybe because new games fucking suck and journalists from IGN gas up the developers, making them think they are good. This is also another very good point, actually, that the developers are only listening to the access media, but the access media is only shilling for these companies because they get paid, they get early codes and interviews, they are getting the access, and that's the only reason why they're the media at this point. So if the developers are completely blocking out what customers are saying, and we know Ubisoft does, because just a few weeks ago they said that, oh, we actually ignored the haters and we own the haters and the chuds are losing. They they aren't listening to us. And maybe if they were skipping the middleman that constantly sits here and says everything they're creating is a godsend, they'd actually be in touch with reality. Disagree? They're just making shitty games now. Ex-Ubisoft developers just made one of the most nominated games ever. Maybe try to do something different and original with the talent you have. Yeah, Ubisoft must be furious at the fact that they lost out on a game like Expedition 33, that they lost those developers who are absolutely amazing. Players are turning away from full price releases because 70% of modern releases aren't worth the full price or even 5 hours of your time. Yeah, I don't think that customers are turning away from full priced games in general. I just think that they are being more careful with which games they're spending that money on. If every game started releasing and it was a 10 out of 10, you would see people showing up to consume that content, showing up to buy all of those games. The issue isn't standing out. I know when a Ubisoft game comes out, I just choose not to buy them because they are microtransaction-laden grinds made by a company that thinks I shouldn't own the games that I purchase because you care more about the money than the players now. And yeah, every company should care about making money, but they also need to respect their players or they're going to lose them. No, Ubisoft, not many, just you. Yeah, maybe Ubisoft games are struggling to stand out, but many other companies seem to manage just fine. Make better games. Only Ubisoft could run so many great IPs into the ground. I grew up on Rainbow Six, Splinter Cell, Ghost Recon, and Assassin's Creed. Yeah, they have a amazing lineup of series that they could make games in, but instead, they've just fumbled them over and over and over. Obviously, it's not easy to release new games when there's been millions of games made over the years. I remember when new AAA games used to come in a complete format and could cost less than $50. I would buy 3 Assassin's Creed games a year if one. They could just make them in 2. They included actual Assassin's Creed story progression. Maybe they should start focusing on making a good game rather than push an agenda. I think a historically inaccurate game with recycled gameplay mechanics and a trans ladyboy will fix this problem. They better make the new games $120. I guess full price is fine, triple price is not. Yatsuke didn't sell well? Oof. You keep releasing games to an audience that does not play games. Funny, quadruple A is an L then. Players turn away from traditional full-priced releases. Maybe they can check the players who are the ones actually paying full price, not influencers or journalists who get their games for free, what they really want instead of trying to guess it and getting it wrong every time. So yeah, I completely disagree. They're just making shitty games now. People will show up to buy new games, and it's not that people are completely rejecting games that are full price in general to go to like live service free to play Slop. People prefer paying full price if it's a high quality worthy experience, but unfortunately most of the time now it is not so. I'm curious to see if Ubisoft will make any more big announcements. People are very curious to see their earnings report, see what type of statements they're going to make about that. But either way, Ubisoft has warned of falling company revenues and said that really it's our fault when they're the ones who are not making good experiences anymore. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this important and informative, make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I'll talk to you all again in the next video really soon.